In this new Ultimate Team series, I make the best team I believe possible by picking players from all eras of NBA history. It isn't just about how talented the teams are, but I'm also trying to build teams that would gel and execute well together. Today, we're looking at the Ultimate Cavaliers team. Before I get started, here are the rules you need to know. To build each franchise's ultimate team, I will be picking a starting 5, a second unit representing each position, and then 3 additional rotation players at any position I choose. In total, there will be 13 roster spots. It's worth mentioning that I will not simply be building these teams based on how talented each player is, but I'll also be factoring in how well these players would do together as teammates. So without further ado, let's get into it. Starting at the point guard position is the 6-foot 4-time All-Star Mark Price. In the late 80s and early 90s, this guy was so ahead of his time, as he was a very efficient dual threat in terms of his scoring and facilitating. During his prime, he was among the league leaders in assists per game, getting as high as 10.4 in 1991. The part I personally remember him for the most is his elite shooting all over the court. Several players get praised for having single seasons of 50-40-90 percentages. But then there's Mark Price, who was just a few ticks short of 50-40-90 splits for his entire 12-year career. With his incredible handle and with his remarkable pull-up three-point jumper, he was really similar to Steph Curry stylistically and in terms of his skills. I'm very confident that he should be the floor general of this Ultimate Cavs group. Starting at shooting guard is the elite 6'2" scorer, Kyrie Irving. I understand that technically, Kyrie is usually recognized as a 1 instead of a 2. But the thing is, Kyrie has spent some time in his career at the shooting guard position, and Price and Irving are both so good in their own right that you kinda need them starting on the floor together. At the shooting guard spot, Kyrie will be able to focus on doing what he loves most, getting buckets. And with this backcourt, producing points will never be an issue for this starting unit. At small forward is the most obvious choice, maybe ever, LeBron James. The only thing that's up for debate with this pick is which version of LeBron to pick, the pre-Miami Heat version or the post-Miami version. Personally, I want the post version, who was better in the postseason and had a legendary playoff run in 2018. With the King's scoring, rebounding, and playmaking, he'll be making this team a considerable force regardless of which other Ultimate teams they're up against. There's a couple great choices for the starting power forward, but personally, I'm going with Kevin Love. Love has pre-existing chemistry and experience with LeBron and Kyrie, so from an X's and O's standpoint, he'll be a seamless fit in this starting unit. I also wanted a starter who could be considered as a stretch 4, and give Mark Price another capable perimeter shooter for him to facilitate too. Obviously, Love's prime years were in Minnesota, but make no mistake, he was still tremendously impactful in his first couple seasons in Cleveland. And beyond shooting, his ability to clean up the boards will be greatly appreciated as well. Starting at center is the underrated and underappreciated 7-footer Brad Daugherty. For a while, Brad was the co-star of Mark Price, and the tandem had the Cavs looking like perennial dark horse contenders in the Eastern Conference. He made 5 All-Star teams in his time in Cleveland, and he was putting up monstrous double-doubles on a nightly basis, as he usually averaged an efficient 20 points and 10 rebounds during his peak years. In Cleveland, LeBron James has never played with a center as impressive as Daugherty, and he will certainly be thrilled with the opportunity to throw lob passes to an athletically elite big man down low. Now for the second unit. The backup point guard will be the NBA Hall of Famer Lenny Wilkens. He was one of the great left-handed players of history. He's known mostly for his earlier years outside of Cleveland, but even at the age of 35 when he joined the Cavs, he still remained a top-tier floor general in the league. In that first season with the team, he averaged about 20 points, 8 assists, and 5 rebounds on 45% shooting. With his solid ball handling, his elite court vision, and with his sound decision making, this second unit will certainly be in good hands. The backup shooting guard is the 6'6" champion Ron Harper. Although he's most famous for his championship days as a member of the Chicago Bulls starting 5, without question his best days individually came well before that. Even in just his rookie season with Cleveland, Harper was tearing up opposing defenses, averaging about 23 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, while being among the league leaders in steals per game. In his youth, Harper was actually quite the athlete, as he would often finish high above the rim, dunking on some of the best rim protectors the league had to offer. The backup small forward is the former All-Star Mike Mitchell. In the early 1980s, this 6'7" wing was a master of the mid-range game, as he had excellent footwork and a lethal pull-up jumper. He wasn't the fastest or most explosive player, but he had a great understanding of the fundamentals and used it to be the leading scorer of his team. At his best in 1981, he averaged about 24.5 points and 6 rebounds on 48% shooting from the field. He'll be a tremendous spark off the bench for this group. The backup power forward is one of the most jaw-dropping athletes within the history of the franchise, Larry Nance. This 6'10" high flyer was actually the first dunk contest winner in the 1984 competition. But beyond the fact that he was a walking highlight, he was actually a pretty solid all-around player as well. In his days in Cleveland, he made 2 All-Star teams and was an NBA All-Defender. Thanks to his leaping ability and his high defensive IQ, his rim protection was remarkable, as he got as high as 3 blocks per game in 1992, while averaging about 17 points and 8 rebounds per game. Although he's technically backing up Kevin Love on this ultimate team, he's certainly good enough to steal the majority of the minutes. The backup center is the 7'3" Lithuanian Zydrunas Ilgauskas. When people say that LeBron played with absolute trash during his finals run in 2007, the player I'm most annoyed on behalf of is Zydrunas. The skilled and methodical big man was genuinely in the conversation of the top centers in the Eastern Conference for some time, as he made 2 All-Star teams in Cleveland. At his best, he was averaging 17 points and 8 rebounds, while being a reliable rim protector. Whenever Doherty will need a break, Ilgauskas will be more than ready to pick up the slack. Now onto the 3 rotation players. The first of the 3 players is the underrated point guard Andre Miller. Miller spent the first 3 years of his career in Cleveland, but he didn't hesitate to have an immediate impact. His best season with the Cavs was in 2002, when he averaged about 16 points, 11 assists, and 5 rebounds on 45% shooting. That year, he actually led the entire league in assists per game, ahead of all-time great distributors like Jason Kidd, John Stockton, Gary Payton, and Steve Nash. With point guards ahead of him on this roster like Mark Price and Lenny Wilkens, it will be hard for Miller to get a tremendous amount of minutes, but I also wouldn't be surprised to see him being the best player on the court every once in a while. The second rotation player is the 6'4" shooting guard Austin Carr. During the 1970s, Carr was an absolute problem for opposing defenses, as he usually averaged around 20 points per game. He was an NBA All-Star in 1974, regardless of the fact that his Cavs had one of the worst records in the entire league. The third rotation player and the final player on this roster is the 6'9" power forward / center Cliff Robinson, not to be mixed up with the former Blazers All-Star Clifford Robinson. Cliff Robinson of the Cavs was a powerful beast down low, and at his best in 1983, he was averaging about 18 points and 11 rebounds on 48% shooting. So here's a final look at the complete roster of this ultimate Cavs team. I doubt anyone watching this video was expecting this roster to be competitive with the other ultimate teams in this series. But I'm not gonna lie, this team is sneaky good, especially when it comes to their incredible rotation of floor generals. Add in Kyrie, LeBron, and some other underrated contributors, and I could certainly envision this team being a tougher matchup than anyone expected. Here is my long list of honorable mentions for this franchise. Should any of these players have made the roster instead? Let me know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.